If we have something on a change of possession, a kick play, we're not going to use offense or defense. We can use whatever you feel comfortable with, whether you want to use a team name. I use team name quite a bit. You can use return team on a kick play, or if it's on the kicking team, say kicking team. If we have an interception, you can say the intercepting team. You could say the recovering team if we had a fumble recovery by the defense. When all else fails, though, you can always default to the team name if for whatever reason you're getting kind of confused. So that's what I do whenever I get into a situation where I'm thinking a little too hard, and just say, okay, holding Bishop Gorman, 10 yards. All right. So we want to use certain phrases in certain situations. We have a down that won't change. Chains aren't going to move. Penalties will offset, or on a try. We'll say replay the down. If the yardage gives the team a first down after enforcement, meaning we did not have an automatic first down, but we did cross the line to gain, we'll use the phrase results in. And we have kind of a strange situation, but it does happen more often than you might think, where we'll have yardage gain results in a first down after enforcement of the penalty. So we have a long gain by the offense. We have something along the lines of maybe a holding, a blindside block, but even after enforcement, we're still beyond the line to gain. We can use that phrase on the mic to help the crowd understand that we are going to have a first down anyway. If we have one of the very few fouls that results in an automatic first down, use automatic first down in the announcement. And roughing the passer, number 68 defense, 15 yards from the previous spot, automatic first down, something along those lines. We want to use the term illegal if that is necessary in the statement of a foul, whereas we might have a type of block that may be legal or illegal. We want to make sure we use illegal. Then we have a situation where we have penalties and a touchdown is scored, and the touchdown is going to stand. There's a couple different scenarios where that may happen. So if we have a touchdown that's going to stand, but the penalty will be enforced, we want to make our order so we give the touchdown signal first. Then we'll have something along the lines of maybe a dead ball, unsportsmanlike conduct foul, and then we'll go into that signaling and announcement after our touchdown signal. If we do have a foul, let's just say we have a foul by the defense that is going to be declined, and we can go the results of the play after. We'll say the results of the play is a touchdown, then report the foul, and then if it's declined, we'll give the touchdown signal after the announcement. Normally, this could happen on maybe a change of possession. Actually, in high school, it's pretty rare that we would decline them. Most of them can be tacked on, but all right, let's see. All right, so we want to make statements that impact the enforcement when we're making announcements during the kick or return. That way we can understand how the enforcement needs to happen. Helps the fans, players, coaches. So if we have a foul during a kick or return, that's different than a foul during a kick is different than a foul during a return. We have a foul after an interception, it will be enforced differently than prior to an interception. We can always throw in by rule. That's one I usually like to use on something along the lines of we have a kick out of bounds. It goes pretty deep out of bounds. We would say by rule, the ball will be placed 25 yards from the spot of the kick at the 35-yard line, first down for whichever team. Whenever it's necessary, we can add the enforcement spot. Some officials like to add the enforcement spot almost every announcement they make. I add the enforcement spot quite a bit when I have the opportunity to get on the stadium mic, or even when I'm doing any announcement in general. Some people say less is more. So the less you say, the less you have the opportunity to maybe accidentally say the wrong thing, mess something up. So there are some places I know that teach, say, the minimum possible. I wouldn't necessarily ascribe to that personally, but I like to give a little bit extra, kind of help everybody understand where the enforcement spot is, where we're going from and to. We do get in certain situations with pretty complex announcements, something with multiple fouls, multiple flags, just a strange situation, maybe when it happened. So what we want to do, slow down, buy ourselves some time, and bring in another official to talk to. Even if they don't have anything to say, I'll have one or two members of my crew that I'll bring in, kind of turn my back to the press box, talk through what my announcement is going to be, make sure I have all the correct information. I'll say it out loud. Usually the closest person to you is going to be your umpire. So I'll give basically what my announcement is going to be to the umpire. If he thinks there's something wrong, I tell him in pregame, please let me know if whatever I'm saying doesn't sound right, and then I'll rethink it. If we have multiple numbers, multiple fouls on the play, and we want to announce all the numbers, it helps if you can have someone on the crew stay close by to help with that. Usually it's not going to be the umpire. He'll be starting to walk off the foul. So you can task the maybe line judge or back judge to stay close by if you get in a situation where you need a number. I've seen some referees, they'll have, as they're doing their announcement, they'll have another official actually call out the number out loud, and it helps them just put that number, the correct number, into place when they need to. Let's see. Think of all the components of the announcement before we start, and that includes the down. I know we've probably all been in situations, I know I certainly have, on more than one occasion, where I'm starting to go through my announcement, and then I hadn't thought about what down it is to say at the end. Hopefully your down indicator is right in that situation, but just in case it isn't, make sure you are thinking about every component, including the down, before you just start going into announcement. We want to be efficient on announcements always. We want to penalty enforcement. We want to do as quickly as possible when we can, but we cannot do it at the expense of accuracy. So just make sure we have everything correct when we're doing it. So some things we can do and is before game day, kind of learned this from some officials that were veterans before me, before I ever started white hatting. They would go, and I'd actually see them sometimes do this during our pregame in the locker room, but I do this at home as well. Signal in the mirror, see what your signals are looking like, make sure they're looking correct, sync the signals up with what you're saying. With technology we have, it's very, very easy to film ourselves, even if you haven't had a game that's been televised or streamed or seen yourself on film. You could set up your phone, have a family or friend just film you and just give some announcements and signals. Critique yourself. If you want, you can send it to some veterans that can give you some feedback as well. One big thing that I have been doing ever since I started refereeing is watch televised games at all levels, whether it's professional football, college football, other high school games. And I watch them, I record them, I go back, rewind, re-listen to and watch the signals and announcements that people at those levels are making. And they're not always perfect either. I've had the fortune to be in a lot of training with a lot of people that are working at levels all the way up to the NFL, and they'll admit themselves that not all their penalty announcements and signaling is perfect. They always have stuff that they're working on to improve, just like all of us. So we can take that, though, and we can see what they're doing at those levels, steal what sounds good, um, get rid of the stuff that isn't. Sometimes they'll make an announcement and I'll say, if I were to make that announcement, would I change something? How could I possibly make that announcement better if I were to ever run into that specific scenario myself? So if you start seeing those things, thinking about it, once you get to your game, it'll help you stand out and be as well prepared as you possibly can. We want to, as the face of the crew, a lot of times the officials aren't really noticed throughout a game, we hope. So that is always the goal. However, when we're doing our announcements, there is no way to avoid that. That is a time that all eyes are on us, and we are the face of the crew if you're the referee for that game. So you need to make sure you're presenting yourself as well as you can in a professional way for the crew. So stand, signal, and announce your foul clearly and confidently. You want to focus on rule-based language and a professional delivery. To help out with this, instead of having multiple officials come to you after a flag is down, one official will report the foul details, especially if there's a situation where we have multiple flags for the same thing, which happens quite a bit. Usually we'll have them talk, then come to us. Only one of them will talk to us, and then we can more easily and efficiently get this out. We'll give a clear rule-based announcement. One thing that I have seen, we haven't had this in the last couple of years, but we used to have a Thursday night lights. I think a lot of people on this call have had the opportunity to have been a part of that, whether you were the referee or working a different position. But people that are a little bit newer, it was a week game of the week in high school. One thing that I did see quite a bit of, and sometimes when I'm working clock, I see kind of officials kind of bouncing their hands while giving different signals. We want to not do that. Don't bounce your hands off your hips for encroachment. Don't kind of wave your hands up and down for unsportsmanlike. If you have ineligible downfield, don't pat the top of your head multiple times. Just kind of hold in place as you're giving that signal, then point the direction. Looks a lot better, a lot cleaner, a lot more professional if you focus on doing that. And speaking of televised games, so I know that I'm sure is the goal for most of the people on this call to eventually get to the point where you get that big televised commissioner game, or if we get Thursday night lights back, you can be the referee in one of those games. When a flag is thrown, the camera is going to find you as the white hat. So make sure whatever you do, if the flag is on the ground, you appear confident. Don't come in looking angry, upset. Don't look confused. If you need to buy yourself time, I think I talked about this a little bit earlier. I turn my back to where the camera is at, which is usually the press box side. I always try to remember to focus on, like, before I'm ready to give any kind of announcement, my back is to the camera. At that point, they know you're not going to give an announcement. Well, hopefully you know where the camera is at. Unfortunately, I have been in a situation where I've given an announcement the wrong direction. So that's another thing to think about. Where is the camera? But
Yeah, Bishop Gorman is always a unique situation working a TV game there because it's opposite of the press box.
yes, yep. And yeah, I think Doug probably has been in the same boat as myself because, yeah, I have given a signal, an announcement to the wrong side of the field with the camera having my back the entire time. So we don't want to do that. So that's something to think about pregame. Know where your cameras are if you're in a televised game, whether it's at Gorman or anywhere else. They're are other opportunities to have televised games potentially besides Bishop Gorman. That's the most common place that we'll get one. So just show confidence, everything you do. Make sure you, whether you're confident or not, make sure you appear confident. That's a huge part of this profession. Be wrong, strong is what they say. So whether you're right or wrong, whatever you do it with confidence. Um, Try to communicate efficiently with your umpire to begin the enforcement, because what the goal is, as we're giving our signals and announcements, the umpire is already going to start walking off the penalty yardage, or if we're declining it, just going back to the spot. We want to get a little bit away from where the players and crowd are. So find an open space. It can be toward or away from the press box. If you're on TV, the camera is going to find you no matter how close or far away you are. So don't worry about which direction you go. Just move to an open space. And this applies even to a game without cameras, or well, I guess all of them have cameras now, but without television. Get yourself to an open space so the press box can clearly see what signals you're giving. Do not walk into your announcement. What I mean by that is don't be walking and then all of a sudden start your announcement. Get yourself planted. Make sure you're square to whatever direction you're going to be doing your announcement. Have both feet planted and then begin your signaling. With a stadium mic, do not turn on the microphone until the announcement is ready. Another trick with a stadium mic, you may have a delay on that. So a lot of times that can give you an extra second. You'll flip the stadium mic, go 1,000, 1,000, then start the announcement. Make sure you turn the stadium mic off as well. I've personally had issues where I forgot to do that. Luckily, I never said anything inappropriate, but I have done stuff like blow a whistle into a stadium mic, which is not good. So please do not make the mistakes I have made. Remember to turn that stadium mic off if you're using one. Look toward the camera, head up whole time. This is another area where I had, my wife is actually the first one that critiqued me on this. My facial expressions and gestures. Been fortunate to have the opportunity to work a few of these games on TV, and watching them back, my wife pointed something out to me that I didn't even notice I was doing. I'd make certain facial expressions that looked kind of like I was thinking hard. I was blinking my eyes too much. Try to avoid all that. That is one big thing you can do when you're practicing in the mirror or having someone film you. Uh, knock all of that out, and then just kind of look like you're calm, cool, collected, confident when you're giving that announcement. All right. During your announcement, you want to keep your signals within kind of the frame of your body as much as possible, but keep them away from your face. It's easy to kind of give a personal foul signal like right in front of your face. You don't want to do that. Keep it low. Just practice that as much as possible. Get your signals into an area where your face is always clear of whatever signaling you're doing. Kind of like what was already talked about in the previous slide, give strong signals that show confidence. Always stay calm and under control. I've been in situations where I have worked with some people that sometimes they get a little heated. So no matter what, we need to stay very calm. We don't want to come into any kind of announcement while with heavy breathing or we're looking angry. Just make sure we're calm, cool, collected, under control the whole time. We got this. We want to time our words with our signals. So after I'm done kind of with just this presentation part, there's a couple scenarios that I was going to put out and have people kind of volunteer if they want to try them on camera in front of the group. We won't judge you. We'll just kind of give you a little feedback, and we'll kind of work on some of this, timing our words with signals, give our holding signal while we say holding. While we're pointing, we'll say offense, number 68, while pointing that direction. Hold the down up when we say the down. If you have multiple fouls on the same team, no need to point twice. Only need to point one time. There is a situation where maybe you might think about pointing twice. Maybe you have a live ball, then a dead ball, and we're enforcing both. But in general, if we have multiple fouls on the same team, we'll only point one time. This is a big one. Don't let distractions detract you from your presentation. What I mean by that is a lot of times you're going to have, if you're close to a sideline, a coach might be yelling. Even on the field, players might be complaining, I didn't do that. He did this, watch that, while you're trying to give your signal. Another thing that happens quite a bit, even though we tell the people on our crew, please don't speak while we are giving our signals over the O2O. It happens very, very often, unfortunately. So we have to do our best to block that out. A lot of that comes with experience. Some people, for the O2O part of it, they'll just take their earpiece out whenever they get into an announcement. So that is one option you have to do that. It's hard to avoid the players. If possible, try to, if they're going to, you see that they're going to speak their piece, kind of move far enough away from them where they can't do that and distract you. And then kind of in the same vein as what I was talking about earlier about walking into an announcement, don't walk out of your announcement. And what I mean by that is kind of the same thing. Just finish your announcement after you hold your down up, bring your arms to the side. Then eventually, especially if you're on camera, the camera will pan away from you at that point. Then you can walk away. But practice taking an extra couple seconds before you start moving your position after announcing.
John,
Yes.
Joe Molinaro here. How you
Hey,
doing,
what's up,
man?
Joe?
Real quick,
Uh-huh.
do you like to announce the spot of the penalty, i.e., I have holding number 68. There'll be 10-yard penalty from the previous spot or from the spot of the foul. Do you use that verbiage at all?
Personally, I do, but I would say that especially if you're newer to the referee position and announcements, minimize that at first. But if you want to work that in, that is something that I find is helpful, maybe to the crowd, and sometimes your crew will hear you do that. So yeah, my normal announcement would be something along the lines of, let's say I have a holding behind the line of scrimmage, holding number 68 offense, 10 yards from the previous spot, replay, second down, something along those lines. Some
I
people
just think
just,
it, I just think it sounds more professional. It sounds like you know what you're talking about. Previous spot of the foul, end of the run. It sounds like it just flows. That's what I like to do.
yeah,
But I
I
didn't know
like
if it
that.
was, yeah.
I
Just
do
Okay.
like that.
just be careful and make sure that you have the right yardage and yard line,
Yeah,
right?
that's the key right there that Doug just said. So that's the reason that a lot of people suggest less is more, because if you say 10 yards, you're not going to get that one wrong if it's a holding,
and
unless it's a half the distance. But if you say previous spot and then the spot actually was foul happened a couple yards in front of the line of scrimmage, run ended in front of the spot of the foul, and then you said the wrong thing. So just make sure you know what you're saying and you know you're correct if you're going to use that.
yeah, because the other thing is our flag placements, right? So a lot of times we don't take the time to adjust our flags, to John's point. And now we have a flag that's beyond the end of the run, and yet we have a holding foul that we got to enforce from the spot of the foul, right? And so what's visually in an indicator of that is where the flag placement is, right? And then all of a sudden we move to a different yard line. So there's a lot of things that go into it. Just I'll do the same thing. And it's just to make sure that I'm announcing everything so everybody's on the same page in that aspect. But you're an umpire, so I can understand you doing that.
Hey, we should make you an umpire. You'd be great in there.
No, that's a
those,
special kind of crazy I don't have yet.
those are all good points, guys. Whatever you're comfortable with, as long as you do it professionally and you look good.
Yeah, and one thing, kind of to one of Doug's points too. One thing I try to remember to always do is if there's more than one flag on the play, actually, no matter what, whether there's one or more, if there's more than one flag on the play and it's the same foul, and make sure the officials put that at the same yard line. Even if there's only one foul, I want the official to. The first thing I ask is that in a good spot? And the other thing I ask is, what was the result of the play? Those are two pieces of information that are very crucial to how we're going to do the enforcement. And if you want to do the spot, like what Joe and I were just kind of talking about in the way we kind of did those announcements, you need to know where the spot of the foul is and make sure that flag was in the correct spot. And usually I won't even start announcing until I make my crew member move their flag if it has not landed in the correct spot that they're telling me. So yeah, something to always think about though. But I think it does sound really good when you do that. So if you can pull that off, I think it sounds great. And I use that personally in almost all of my announcements, but just work. Yeah. Kind of like Bill just said a minute ago, use what.
Yeah, if I wasn't too sure of myself, I would do it Doug's way also.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, John, go over a correction of a call. Correction, we have this, that.
You talking like maybe whether we said something wrong or whether we had a flag that we're picking up or both?
Well, actually, I like to hear both. How do you wave off a flag, and then also when we're announcing, especially at a stadium, how do we announce a correction?
All right, sounds good. So sometimes we can be in a situation where it's easy to pick up a flag. Other times, maybe not. The coach is going to get a little ballistic. So sometimes I'll give what the foul that the official was going to call if I feel like it's pretty easy to talk to the coach about. Other times I might just not tell them. So if I were to be on a stadium, Mike, there's two ways that we may pick up a flag. I might say something along the lines of flip it on after the flag goes down. There's no foul on the play for holding. Result of the play is third down, something along those lines. If I decide not to tell them what the foul is over the mic because it could create a very strong negative reaction, I might just flip on the mic and say, there's no foul on the play. Third down, flip it back off. So kind of depends on the level of foul. Sometimes if you're picking up something like a big personal foul, they're not going to be very happy. We have to go explain it to them. So it's best to sometimes not announce what you're picking up in every situation. The other one is I've actually done this before myself. It kind of goes along with what I was talking about earlier with know what you're going to say before you say it. I get on the mic holding number 28 offense, 10 yards from the spot of the foul, replay third down. Then I realize, oh, shoot, we're replaying second down. Then I flip it back on. Correction, second down, then flip it back off. So you can make the correction pretty easily. There are some big corrections sometimes I've seen where the crew, there's some level of confusion and you actually walk off and announce the foul was on the offense, and then someone runs in and actually, no, we had defensive holding. So then you got to flip the mic back on and say something along the lines of correction. Holding fouls on the defense, 10 yards from the previous spot, result in a first down. So there's different ways to do it. You just got to make sure you communicate what happened as best you can. It does not look good in those situations, but they unfortunately do happen in this business for a variety of reasons. All right. Anyone else have anything before we move on? Right. This is a big one. I've been more than guilty of this myself. When you're the referee and you're the calling official, a lot of times you tend to be like, oh, boom, I've got this roughing the passer. So you throw your flag, you hear the whistles, the play's ending, your crew's killing the clock. You just turn and you start doing your announcement. Don't do that, please, because there's a lot of other things that we need to do before we even start thinking about making our announcement. We want to be quick and efficient, but not that quick. And it actually hurts our efficiency when we do that, because more times than not, the crew has no idea what you have, and they're just looking at you like, what the heck's going on back there? So,
Or an offsetting foul.
yeah, that is one of the other possibilities. There could be another flag down that you didn't see. And the first thing I talked about, where your crew's downfield and they have no idea that you even had a flag down, and they're looking at you like, what's going on with that guy? So slow down. Make sure you do the same thing that you demand of your crewmates. Have a funny whistle whenever you have the flag. I like to do, anytime, as soon as that play ends, I'll tweet a bunch of times. That way, not only my crew knows, but the sidelines both are aware that something weird's happening. So then I get on the 020 flag down, let my crew know I'm roughing the passer or whatever I may have back there. Holding doesn't really matter, but we need to slow down whatever we have. You can give a quick preliminary to the umpire, or 020 it is what I prefer. If the game's televised, just give the camera a little time to find you. Don't want to get too quick on it. Sometimes in that situation, you can actually get a little more efficient on these when it's your foul, because you know the number, you pretty much know everything. You do need to let your crew know and make sure that there are no other flags down, though, before you do any of this. And if you have a televised game, give the camera a few seconds, because you may get into your announcement a little bit quicker than normal. Overall, in general, a preliminary signal by a referee is not necessary in most cases. Sometimes it could be. If we have multiple fouls called and we have to have some kind of discussion on which one may or may not be accepted. If we have a single foul called, but we have some information that's needed from a coach, he needs to make a decision. Are we going to decline that? Are we enforcing it? What are we doing? Because there are certain enforcements that aren't always obvious. If it's obvious, usually I tell coaches in my pregame that we're going to make the decision. If they didn't like the decision we made, they can always change it. But more times than not, the decision's pretty obvious. If we had an incomplete pass, but we had a personal foul of some kind, or defensive holding, or pretty much any foul that is going to give them yardage, they're going to take that. And conversely, the offense made a first down, but we have holding on the offense. The defense is definitely going to take that foul as well. So majority of the time, though, we'll find that foul on the offense, if you gain yardage, they're going to accept it unless they're going to third or fourth down. Going to third or fourth down, I do like to try to get a decision from the head coach. Do you want that yardage, or is the down more important to you? Almost always when a team loses yardage, they're going to decline a foul. The defense will, just because the down is more important to them. They're going to want it. They had a sack for 5 yards. Instead of enforcing a 10-yard holding and replay the down, they're just going to take that 5-yard loss plus the team loses the down. So just be thinking about that kind of stuff. And then we can make our announcements a lot more efficient. So a lot of
question.
What we do, oh yes, go ahead.
So how do you recommend your crew, your supporting officials, to report a penalty to you, the white hat?
Yeah, that's a good point. Usually I one thing I always need, you need the foul, you need the team, you need the number, and I always want them to give me the results of the play. I know there's some referees that'll also ask for the enforcement. I personally don't do that. I don't need them talking to me for that long, because I like to have my announcements be pretty efficient. So I just get all the information that I am definitely going to need. And first, I'm going to say, what's the foul, and make sure, is that the correct spot where the flag's at? All right, good. Number. All right. And result of the play is very important. Depending on the type of play, that I may also, if we had an interception on the play, I'll always ask, was that before or after the interception? During a kick play, was that during the kick or during the return? You want to know the segment of the play that a foul happened in, and you want your crew to be used to giving you that information. So, yeah, that's a good point.
Can I add on to that?
Sure.
So, okay. So let's say the play is coming to my side of the field. I'm the wingman, and you see the defensive tackle engaged with the offensive lineman. It's a trap play, really a sucker trap play, headed my way, and basically you've got the pulling lineman as well as the engaged lineman, top and bottom that guy. But the play cuts back against the grain. It goes off the butt cheek of the pulling lineman. So, and you cannot see the numbers from that angle. So again, your advice on how to approach this, since you have I believe it was called a crackback.
If you had a high-low, it sounds like a chop block.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it's not always easy to get the numbers as a calling official, especially if you're coming from the wing. One thing I try to do is, if you can identify where the players were, you might be able to pick up the numbers as you're coming in. If they haven't moved too far, once you get a little closer, you might be able to get a better look at the number. We always want to have numbers, but in a situation like a personal foul, you don't necessarily 100% need it, but I would say get in the habit of always trying to pick up the number. Once you have been doing this a little while, kind of dead ball. What I do, if I can't see the number, I close distance until I can see the number after the play is over. I keep track of that person as best I can, unless there was a early foul and then it was a longer developing play. Sometimes you might lose them, but do whatever you can to get that number. There's another trick that sometimes you can come in and be like, hey, which one of you guys block low there? And then the number 68 or whoever will raise their hand. That was me. Like, okay, yeah, that's the guy. So sometimes you can get them to admit it. So, yeah, that's a trick I have learned. So which one of you was holding on that last play? And usually someone will fess up. Not always, but so that's another trick if you absolutely have lost complete track of the number. But one thing, the coaches will expect us to have a number. If someone's getting on a stadium mic, a number is going to be expected by everybody listening. I have been in situations where someone comes in like, I just don't have the number, sorry. So I'll just announce the penalty without the number, and then we'll go from there. But it just makes it a lot more difficult for the whole crew's credibility if we don't have those numbers. So just do whatever it takes to try to get them.
Do not make up a number. For God's sake, don't make a number up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely don't do that. I heard a story one time from one of my officiating supervisors. He was working, I believe it was at Notre Dame. Long time ago, his umpire had a call, didn't have a number. So the referee's like, well, what is the number? I got to announce this. He's like, I don't know. I can't remember what the number was. So the referee announces the number. They go, and then he got back. He was the wing official. He got back to his sideline, and they just chewed him up because the number that was given, that was made up, was one of the retired jerseys that no players are able to even wear. And so he got back in, talked to his umpire. He's like, "Hey man, they don't even have that number." He's like, "Oh, I knew I saw it somewhere. It's up there." So don't make up a number. Yeah. Just fess up to not having one if that's the case, and just kind of go from there.
Hey,
All
John,
right.
Larry here.
Oh, what's up, Larry?
Yeah, I think when we get into the chop block situation, I don't think we want to be, very rarely will we ever call out two numbers on the penalty enforcement when a chop block, wherever. Just let us know, hey, we have a chop block on the offense. You report them to the coach. If you can get the number, you can. If you can't, just say, hey, I got your left guard and your left tackle, you know. But as far as trying to announce those numbers on a microphone out or whoever, the two numbers, I mean, that very rarely happens.
Yeah, some referees will, a lot will not. So yeah, I wouldn't worry so much about that. If you can identify the positions they were in, that's more important for sure, as long as people know. But I mean, this could even happen on a single foul or a single player foul, like even a hold. Sometimes you may lose the number. So just do our best to try to get it. All right. So a lot of what we do as the referee, especially when we're mic'd up, but even when we're not, just facing the press box, is about a performance. So make sure our penalty announcements are good, like we talked about already. If there's anything unusual, the stadium mic really helps with that. You can have something like I'm sure most of us are familiar with the free kick after a fair catch rule in high school football. I actually have seen it one time in my career, so they do happen. They do exist. So if you can get on and give the crowd just a little description of what is going on, because everyone's going to be looking around like, what is going on here? I have no idea. Any kind of unusual situation that rarely happens, that happens, once in 20 years type play. Try to describe that if you have a microphone. It helps out a lot.
John, can you explain that one more time?
Just I don't know if you want me to talk about the actual play itself, or I'm talking about an unusual play. So the free kick after fair catch play, if you're familiar with that, it's in the rule book, but it is extremely rare. Like a team can kick a 3-point field goal with a 10-yard restraining line after a fair catch or awarded fair catch after a penalty. It's actually an NFL rule, and college just added it this year as well. So it'll be at all levels of football, but it very rarely happens. But something like that, like a water bucket type play, or even something that just doesn't happen very often, and we want to just give a little brief description of what's going on so the crowd and coaches and everyone who may not understand can get an idea of what we're doing. Timeouts, make sure we do our timeout signals crisp, look professional doing those just like any other signaling. If we have a clock adjustment, we can use the stadium mic for that. It helps out a lot. Obviously, we have O2Os that we can use when we don't have a stadium mic as well. Sometimes we can give informational nuggets. So we have a very close call where catch, no catch, players coming up with the ball like they caught it, but we're ruling that it was incomplete and just flip on. Ruling on the field is an incomplete pass, something like that. We can give nugget of information of why a play was not illegal, something like intentional grounding. The quarterback got outside the pocket, threw the ball beyond the line of scrimmage, or I'm sorry, outside the free blocking zone, threw the ball beyond the line of scrimmage. Therefore, we have no foul for intentional grounding. If we have a player whose helmet comes off during a play, get on the stadium mic, say number 78 has to sit out one play due to his helmet coming off, flip off the mic. That helps out. Lets the coach know right away, like, oh, shoot, got to sub this guy. And then kind of working with a stadium microphone. We don't do it too often. So just some tips when you do get the chance to go to Gorman or anywhere. We used to actually probably have about 5-6 places that had it. One time I got a stadium mic when I went out to little town called Alamo, Nevada, that many of us have been around for a little while, have worked some games in. They don't have that stadium mic anymore that I know of, but you never know where you might show up and they'll put you on mic. So get the microphone early before you go out to take the field, put it on in the locker room. Helps a lot. It's very difficult to put those things on out on the field. You have to unzip your pants, take your belt off, unzip your shirt, clip things all over the place. So also we want to test the equipment during pregame, make sure there's no place on the field that you can't be heard. You need to get to a certain area of the field for it to even work type thing. Just make sure the batteries were charged and you can actually be heard. They have everything plugged in correctly. It's working. And kind of one of the other things I talked about a little bit earlier, be aware of when that microphone is on or off. I have been guilty myself on a few occasions of having the microphone on when it should have been off and blowing whistles and everything else. So yeah, just be very, very aware when you have the microphone on or off. Just focus on that.
Also, John, for those of you that get a microphone, just remember most of those microphones have a 1 or 2 second delay. So once you click it on, just give yourself 1 or 2 seconds. A lot of times you'll see people just immediately click it on and start talking. It cuts off your announcement to the stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely want to test it in the pregame, and then you give yourself kind of an idea, because sometimes you're thinking like, all right, I got a second or 2 seconds, and you start going. And sometimes you still need it even more time. So I like to go in the pregame, kind of try it out, see how long the delay is, how long I need to wait. So if you wait an extra second, it's better than starting early. So take your time before you get into that announcement when you use the microphone, for sure. That's a good point, Larry. Thank you. And kind of the last thing when we're out there doing our announcements, not all of us are going to do announcements exactly the same way, but we want to make sure we're professional. But you can also show your personality. Some people have different ways of phrasing announcements. Like I said earlier, sometimes you can have different orders for the team and number, however you want to do that. Sometimes during the descriptive part, you don't probably want to get into the full ad hoculi where you're giving a long dissertation of everything that happened on a play, but you can add a little extra, especially on an unusual play or something that isn't just a run of the mill, false start, encroachment, holding, something like that. So don't be afraid to get a little personality, but make sure it's professional. We're not out there to be comedians, but we want to convey the message as best we can, but have a good time while we're doing it. All right. I have a couple play scenarios here that if anyone wants to jump in and try out, we're not here to try to tear anyone down. It's just an opportunity if anybody is willing to volunteer these last few minutes.
Well, I'm looking through the list. If we get no volunteers, I'll select somebody.
Voluntold somebody. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Here, let me pull up. All right. All pretty run of the mill. There's one that might have a couple fouls, but overall these are fairly straightforward. So I'm not trying to. It's no gotcha for anybody. We're trying to really. It's just a opportunity to kind of get up and practice. And if we have any constructive feedback, we'll give it to you.
Mr. Landy, you got your vocal cords warmed up?
Yes, I do, sir.
All right, why don't you give this one a stab?
So the first one, 3rd and 10, 8:45, it's 5 yard downfield before the quarterback releases. Okay, so what I would call as an official on this is we have I turn my mic on and we have a lineman downfield on the offense. That penalty is going to be declined. 4th down.
Very good. The only feedback I would have for that is I try, if possible, it looks a little better if you use like your same arm. So you did the signal on your head and then use the opposite arm to point.
Yep.
If you can get used to being ambidextrous and
Here and then
using
here.
right arm when you're pointing right, left
Gotcha.
arm when you're pointing left, I think it looks better. But other than that, yeah, great job.
Good. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
So on the verbiage, there's little things that, you have a lineman downfield, right? Well, we have an ineligible lineman downfield or ineligible player downfield, right? Because in those scenarios, this one is A68, so it's going to be a lineman, right? But in this foul, it could be a covered up wide receiver. So in these ones, just kind of get into it a little bit more of that one. That would be the only feedback on there is just the verbiage on there.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Got it.
Yep.
Probably sum it up with just ineligible downfield, you know.
Stay away from we.
And don't say IDP. They don't know what that means.
No, and this is where you can go into a little bit of a nugget on it, right? If you do have a wide receiver, slot receiver that's covered up, right? Number 25, we had an ineligible. Number 25 was downfield. He was covered up, right? So you can give that little bit of nugget in there so people understand, because they're like, well, how is he ineligible? He's got a legal number. He's a wide receiver, right? But they don't, just in those little scenarios, you can do that.
Yep. All great points. All right. Anybody want to, go on to the next one here?
I'll take the second one.
All right. Go for it, Tyson.
All right. I don't know if you guys could see me because I'm on my phone, but
Yep. Gotcha.
during the return, personal foul, return team, number 69, illegal. Oh, I messed it up. During the return, personal foul, illegal blindside block, return team, number 69, half the distance from the goal from the spot of the foul, first down from the 14. I don't know. What's the verbiage we should use? Return team, first down return team on that?
A lot of times you say return team. Most of the time for me, I'll just say the team name. I'll say first down, Centennial, whatever team it is.
Yeah, if you're good enough to get the names, but to keep it straight in your head, right? We want them to report kicking team, return team, because that is also what the announcements are painting a picture for the crowds and the announcers as well. And it clarifies certain things. So on this one, could just be during the kick, personal foul, number 69, return team. Right? And you can just go from there, first down, Centennial.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, that was good though. You picked up the half the distance, so we do want to try to work that in if we can. But the one thing I think we kind of saw with Tyson's is you want to kind of think about your announcement, because that can happen in live time on mic, and you don't want to have to try to restart. So it's better to have it happen here for sure. It's a good learning experience for us. Just take a little bit of extra time to kind of think about what we're going to say. Personal foul, illegal blindside block, number 69, half the distance, first down, Centennial.
You could even start with on the return.
During the return.
What do you mean on the return?
Yeah. I think during the return probably would be better than on the return. But
yeah. During the return, and your arm's going to point which team it is,
Yeah,
because we want to announce the segment that the foul took place, right? So on the kicking plays, you got prior to the kick, during the return.
That is correct.
Yeah.
The when the foul happened is going to put us foot bucket. We're going to go in for the enforcement.
Yep, that's very important.
As a referee, when people report fouls to me, I just always ask them, when did it happen? I just need to know the when, because that's where I'm going to start at. Then I get the rest of the information.
Absolutely. That is a key piece of information. The when the foul happened, the results of the play.
Yeah, those are the
Always needed.
two biggest ones we cannot miss. Because you're either taking away a possible score or you're allowing one to possibly stand. And it also gives you timing aspects to on there's a whole lot that goes into that aspect just by getting those two nuggets.
Yep, absolutely. All right. There's only 5 here, so there's 3 more. I don't know if we're over an hour now, but if we want to go through these, we can. If you guys want to stick around for a few more minutes.
I can try this one.
Sure.
Okay, I'm just turning my camera on. So we have a B45. Okay. So we're going to have a personal foul, horse collar tackle on number 35 on the defense. The result of the play, 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. The result of the play will be a first down.
All right. So this is one of the ones where we want to make sure that we're knowing where we're enforcing from if we're going to use that part of the announcement, because this one was a sack, so we would go actually enforce it from the previous spot and add on 15.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did see. I just saw sacked. You're right. My bad.
Yeah. So no, that's a common mistake. That's why some people say less is more in these. So if you didn't say that part, then 15 yards would have been correct. So yeah, just always be careful when we're doing that we have the correct spot of enforcement. So yeah, I'd say something along the lines of personal foul, illegal horse collar tackle, number 35 defense, 15 yards from the previous spot, results in a first down.
Yep.
All right, good job. All right. I want to take number 4 here.
Tyler, you driving, McCabe?
No, I'm not.
You want to take one of these?
All right, here's a referee who's been on a stadium mic before.
Yeah.
Hold on. All right. Let me turn the old video on here. Okay. So I guess we can go during the play. Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense, number 22. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. After the play, dead ball, unsportsmanlike conduct. Offense, head coach, 15-yard penalty, first down.
All right. Yeah, I think I would have tried to work in the automatic first down aspect of it, because we're going to be moving back, move forward and then back. So we're going to have an automatic first down. Then we're going to go back 15. But so if we can work that word, the automatic first down phrase, probably in the middle there, I think that would be good. Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 22 defense, 15 yards from the previous spot, automatic first down, and something like after the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, head coach of Cheyenne, 15 yards will be enforced.
And what is your feelings on the distance offsets? So like in this situation, you would still be able to take the full 15 once you enforced it, right? But if it was at the 15, at the A15, we'd be winding right back up. Or I'm sorry, at let's say the 14, and then you ended up with a half a distance enforcing that other one back, right?
Yeah, if this one after enforcement ended up short of the 30, then yeah, the second part of it would have been half the distance. Yeah.
Yeah. So on this one, the 15 would have put us at 31. So in this case, are you okay with announcing the distance offsets results in an automatic first down?
I personally wouldn't say offsets just because then we're kind
or
of
cancels instead of offsets, cancels. We are enforcing it.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
can't do either of those because one's
yeah.
a live ball, one's a dead ball. You can't say they cancel each other out. You got to mark them off.
Yeah, while technically the yardage does cancel by rule book verbiage, we wouldn't want to use that, I don't think, just because the rule book doesn't use cancels for other types of dead ball fouls. It doesn't use it for live and dead, even though we are going to end up right back in the exact same spot at the A16. So it technically would cancel out. It just, we probably wouldn't want to say that just because it doesn't
And we
fall
should
into
use
our
the word
regular
offset.
football verbiage. But yeah, it's an interesting one. One to think about. I got to think about how I would do this one the best now. Thought I had a good one earlier when I wrote this, but I got to rethink like the second part of how to announce this. Yeah. All right. And then depending on what you think about the head coach's actions, maybe he could have earned himself a disqualification, maybe just a single UNS, but we won't worry about the judgment part of this. But either way, it's a foul.
Yeah, we want to stay away from ejecting on this one.
Yeah, as best we can. Yep. Make him really, really earn it. If we can walk him back, just be like, all right, coach, no more of that the rest of this game. All right, one more if someone wants to take it.
All right, Mr. Corey Dominic. How you doing, bud?
I'm good, guys. I'm good. Okay, so
you mind taking this last one?
I don't mind. I don't mind. So this says a tight end makes a catch and runs all the way to the B30 where he is tackled during the tight end's run. A8, that's an 81 or A80, A81 held a defender at the B40. So yeah. Sorry, guys. My camera's not working, so I'm just gonna say holding, offense, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Okay, would this be better to have a results in a first down?
Well, and it also would be, Corey, in this scenario right here, we're going to have a spot foul because we ended up with a first down because the line to gain, and he got the first down. So just go from the spot of the foul, and it's going to result in a first down.
Yeah, we want to give a little more information just because this is a kind of a one where the foul is on the offense, but they are actually gaining a first down even after the enforcement.
So that is correct. Yep.
And this is where you can add a little bit of your personality too, and just when did the foul occur, right? So as Larry was talking about, give us a win during the run. Holding number 81 on the offense. 10-yard penalty results in a first down.
Well, as somebody said, this is a good one where you would want to notate the penalties from the spot of the foul.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yep. Definitely.
You can even use words like after enforcement or things like that to help it out. It's just we want to be careful talking too much ref lingo, right? So like on intentional grounding, you don't have to quote the whole rule and getting it. There is no foul for intentional grounding. The quarterback was out of the free blocking zone. Half of them don't know what a free blocking zone is, right? You could just, there is no foul for intentional grounding. The ball was legally grounded. And just make it short, sweet to that point. And it can just be a quick postured announcement in that aspects of those things.
Yeah. yeah, just kind of work on some stuff, practice it, what works for you. I tried to find some video of myself with all my screw ups. I usually have at least one per game, but luckily the internet seems to have scrubbed a lot of those. So I'm fortunate that that happened. But I wanted to use a couple of them for this training. But hopefully this helped, though, with getting people prepared for potentially being on mic. And so anyone have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'll send this over to the board. They can post the PowerPoint wherever. And then I think you're also recording this, right, Doug?
Yeah. And so that would be up on the YouTube channel once we get done with it. So Johnny did a great job. I love that everybody's, participating and taking time to make themselves better. The biggest thing I think that I took away from you, John, is recording it, listening to how we sound. You'd be surprised at how monotone everybody gets, right? They flip it on and it's like holding number 78. We start sounding like a computer, right? Record yourself. You're going to hear what people hear. And that also has an impression. Do we end up, look, there's certain things we do, right? How do we say our numbers, right? There's some people that say third down, and then they have a little list for certain things. So understand what it is that you're sounding like when you're on the mic and practice that stuff on there.
Yeah, one thing I will add for everybody on this call that's a referee and a crew, you get to the higher levels. One of the things they grade the crew on is administrative time. And somebody always says, "Well, what is that?" It's how long it takes you to work through a penalty and get the ball snapped for the next play. That will bring a crew down on a simple foul that takes 35, 40 seconds to figure out where we're going, what we're doing, who's doing what, when it should just be something simple. So that admin time at these higher levels, referees and crews are graded how quickly they can work through penalties and how accurate they can get through them. So just think about that when you're working through penalties as a crew.
And wrote this phrase down from a clinic I went to. Great announcements start with great input. So it all begins with how we report things and painting the picture, because you got to understand that not only are you reporting it to a fellow official, right, but they got stuff that they're working through as a white hat. What's the results of the play? Do we got to move the chains? There's administrative stuff that they're looking at as well. And so when you take shortcuts on little things and it's like, hey, I got holding, 28, and you might point to the right side, but that becomes a little confusing because now I gotta, okay, which way did he point? Did I make sure I'm in the right direction? Was that my left or his left? And then all of a sudden you're making your announcement and you're pointing in the wrong direction, right? It's just little things like that. So what we give to our referees is generally what's going to come out, or it's going to take us a while to sort through it, which it's all about credibility, like Larry and everybody says, when we're up there announcing and being the face.
Yep, absolutely. Garbage in, garbage out is what I've heard used as well. So, but yeah, so we want to give the high quality information to our white hats. So anyone who is not a referee on here, or if you're working a different position, just come in, treat your referee like they don't know any aspect of it. Give them every piece of the information they need to make the proper announcement. I've told the foul, holding, the team, offense, defense, return team, intercepting team, results of the play, even if you want to say the down, whatever information you can give them to help them out. We're all a team here.
Nice. Well, I just scrolled through the chat, so didn't see any other questions in there.
All right. Good deal.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Definitely appreciate everyone who came out. So glad everyone's taking the time.